everybody, it's Cinnamon Cooney, your Art Sherpa, and today I'm going to show you how you at home following along can paint this really lovely composition of dandelions and their dandelion puffs. This is a step-by-step acrylic painting class. I'm going to explain every brush, every technique, every process so you can create this for yourself at home. To help me do this is my husband, John.
Hello.
He is going to make sure that the camera is pointing at what I'm demonstrating, that you can see what's going on. You can see the color mixes. Each step is going to be up in the corner so you can see the steps. It's going to match a chapter mark that's in the description. If you check the description, the materials are there. If you go to the website, there are free resources like a traceable and a step-by-step mini book that you can download and use. So there's everything that you need as a painter at home to succeed at this painting. Now, maybe you just came here because this is dandelions and you thought, I want to paint dandelions, but maybe you're here because this is part of Acrylic April 2022 Bloom, a story of flowers. And so you're just excited to be here. If you have committed to this daily painting program, remember sometimes it's you paint every day a little bit and sometimes you do a painting a day. Make sure that you keep it fun because what you do consistently is what makes change and improvements in your personal art practice.
And that's
Now,
how you bloom.
that's how you bloom. That is exactly right. This program is about you blooming as an artist. Okay, get your paint, get your brushes, come back and I'm going to show you how to paint this gorgeous composition. We have our 8x8 surface today. You saw the materials coming in, but this is the 8x8. I have the wish or intention that you have light at the end of the tunnel. I think in a daily painting program, that is definitely a wish I wish for everyone, is that you know that you're going to make it through and it's okay. I have the colors out: cad yellow medium, cad red medium, quinacridone magenta, ultramarine blue, burnt sienna, phthalo green, phthalo blue, and titanium white. I don't know if on this one I'm going to put out the Naples yellow yet, but you'll know from the materials that were first came in what I did,
Hmm.
right? So you'll know. The first thing that we need to do, though, is create a even field of gray, like you do. So I'm going
Seems
to,
pretty straightforward.
it's very straightforward. I'm going to take one of my angle brushes and make sure that my wishes are part of the canvas. And I'm going to make the basic gray that ultramarine and burnt sienna make together. They make a very nice gray. I have a blue gray, and we're going to take advantage of that. Kind of want a nice light gray. So this is a tone surface, right? So when you do pastels, when you do floral arrangements like this, often you'll start with a tone surface.
Hmm.
It's not that it's done a lot of sit-ups. It's not toned like that. But it has kind of a color on it that gives you a place to begin. And I picked this one because it is gray, but it has sort of a purple cast to it, which will play against the dandelions, I think, in a very interesting way. And as I've been doing this year, I've been realizing this type of subject matter, I haven't done enough on the channel. And I've done a lot of subject matter on the channel. But this idea of just the flowers done in kind of a studied arrangement with a little bit of modern flair to it,
Mm-hmm.
like not enough. And that's crazy because we all love that. I'm just making this kind of even. It doesn't have to be perfect, guys. You just kind of want it to feel like a good background. If your paint is giving you grief, you can always do two coats.
Ah,
Completely acceptable option.
that would make it nice and smooth and even.
Yeah, if you're trying to make it nice and smooth and even. I'm kind of actually hoping for a dungaree effect. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to dry this, and when we come back, I'm going to kind of like texture it a little bit. It's a cool thing. Let me show you what we're going to do. So I'm going to sip my coffee so stay energized.
Nice little sip.
I'm going to take the same brush and dry it out a bit. And I'm going to just come in and kind of try brush almost in a kind of rough way. with some varying tones around here. And it's going to give it a rustic, I'm going to kind of say shabby chic kind of feel to it, but I might be using shabby chic wrong. You guys who are a fan of the design style will have to let me know. But a lot of things right now are very distressed. And one of the things that we can do when we're doing a very traditional subject matter, like a composition of flowers, right? This is just going to be a composition of flowers. It's not even flowers in a vase. It's a composition of flowers.
Composition.
One of the things that we can do is do things that are in trend and stylish. So you can see this is just roughing it up. It's like I'm distressing it a bit, isn't it?
Yeah.
Now I want enough color here where, dandelion puffs are going to show. I do want to mix these together more evenly because I don't want brown as much as I want this sort of blue-purple. And I'm going to be doing that cool little kind of, when we get our composition kind of basically laid out, I'm going to be doing a kind of cool other modern little streaky background thing. Mm-hmm. That's a very great explanation, isn't it? A modern streaky background thing. But honestly, you're going to go, oh, yeah, no, I've seen that on Pinterest. Yeah. Swishy, swishy, swish. Yeah, I got it. We can use terms, breaking lines and using brushstroke and texture and design, but, swishy, swish sometimes keeps it friendlier.
Yeah.
What is guiding my mind here is just making sure that I don't have a repeated pattern, and I want it to look rough and patinaed. Now we're doing, and so that my brush is dry. This is a great way to practice that dry brushing skill. Very important skill. And I think that's pretty good. I think that's good. Now I really want to dry this so I can kind of lay out my composition, kind of think about where my focal flowers are going to be. And then from there, I'll know where to put my swishy swoosh.
Gotcha.
Technical term. I'm going to show you how to do it. So I want to begin with a thought about where's stuff going to go, right? This is a composition. Where's stuff going to go? Some thoughts to be thinking, because this is a path to creating original art where you look at little elemental references and you assemble them yourself. There are things that are called rules, but they're actually guides. Sometimes having things in odd numbers is very useful. So that's something to think about. I'm going to grab a little bit of my white to start. And let's say that right here, I'm going to kind of sketch where I know I'm going to want a puff. There's a puff. That's for sure. It's an interesting puff.
A puff.
And, maybe we'll put one kind of up here. Perhaps a little bit elemental one. And then I know I'm going to want some of the yellow flower there. Another one here. And we can have some buds and things to sort of balance it out to create that sense of, do we want a third item? So I kind of know where those objects are, right? These sort of circles, and I can fill them in with leaves and things later to balance them out. But I got to wonder where my focuses are. Do I want these to layer to each other? That could be kind of interesting, couldn't it?
Yeah.
One puff in front of the other. And then, but also one puff bent over could be kind of fun. So I can very quickly get so busy.
Yeah.
Right. So I've got to stop. Got to put on the brakes. Once I have that in, I've got a little sketch there, a little sketch here, here, and here. And just a reminder, this literally lets me know where my flowers are going to go.
Literally.
I'm going to do something wild. I'm going to take a little bit of my phthalo blue and phthalo green and titanium white. And I'm using paper towel here, kind of create a little wiped geometric, look at this, kind of background space. What? I know. It's so interesting.
It's very interesting. Just kind of
Yeah, it's really
streaky, streaky. Very
streaky, streaky, and
ASMR.
I'm gonna be very kind of, sketchy with it. I can come in and be even more sketchy different places, but this is just a way to modernize such a traditional subject.
Hmm.
You can do things like, drips. If you go on Pinterest, as you should, not to steal ideas, but to get inspired, you will notice that, things like drips or splatters or those types of very interesting abstracted elements will very often be added to compositions. If you really look at them, are as old world as they get,
Hmm.
right? That's and you can go back. This is an interesting thing. This isn't stealing. You can go back to old world arrangements, compositions of flowers. Look at those for design understanding, but then take modern elements like this.
Oh yeah, that's a
So
good
I
idea.
know where my flowers are. Basically, I still have that in there. You know, um, we're going to dry. If you were going to use the traceable, it's at the next step you would use it, but let's dry it and we'll come back. So dandelions are a subject that there's a million photographs. I mean, even on weed removal websites
Hmm.
online. So you have a lot of references you can study. You've got what we provided on the website, but also you can find your own. And again, you're not copying, you're understanding, you're observing. So we have our decisions, and I know I wanted, the faces of the flowers, one kind to be kind of up this way and one to be a little bud out here and one sort of facing us. And how we do that is that where the stem attaches to the flower, if you visualize straight up into that, that's where the face of the flower is. And so being aware of that will help you. Let's get a little bit of our cad yellow and our cad red together, right? And we'll start fairly orange and we're going to begin here. And we're going to say that here, right there, might be the face,
Okay,
right there.
that is where it begins.
This is where it begins. And so a way that I can kind of get that going on the dandelion is that I will be darker with my paint here. I'm using a number 10 Raphael brush in hog, and that's just because I like the looseness of it. And as I come out from the dandelion on this far side, I might just get more yellow into the mix. Still kind of orange. I'm making short little lines. And maybe some of these come out here. And you'll find as they come out this direction, they'll be longer. Even though, the face is sort of up, there might be a few. They can always add some depth in there. Very sketchy though, isn't it?
It is very painterly.
Flowers themselves tend to be painterly in their nature, you will find.
I like how you have your paint arranged there.
Oh, on my palette?
Yeah, like the little strip there of mixing.
Just works great. All right, so we're going to come in here and say, let's go a little orange there. Kind of circle around in. As I go out the flower, I get more into my yellows. I'm just pulling them out, and you can see that the outer petals are like torn bits of paper.
Mm.
Yeah, here's the bit of a maybe one that's thinking about having a bloom. Sometimes they do that. They think about having a bloom.
They do.
That's not bad. Look at that. Two little guys thinking about being a thing. They're having a thought of being.
That's right.
Making sure this stays round because when they're facing us, they're fairly round.
Mm,
All right. That's pretty good.
that's very
Now,
good.
while I'm here, actually, let's break that down to a step because you're learning how to do this. Just get here. Just get here. And then we'll move on to the next step. So while this is here and it's having a bit of a moment, it's going to have a dry. I'm going to get a little of my gray color again, but this time I'm going to take it more to the brown because we're not really using black in this composition. And I'm going to say that there's a dandelion is facing sort of out this way, the puff. And I'm going to imply that little dark center. Right down to the little bud that it attaches into. Sometimes you see them more depending on how the flower is lit, and that's a thing to think about. And I've got to decide, do I want to include that one here where I had it, or do I want to put it elsewhere? It would be very compelling up here, I feel, so I might actually move it up here.
I like compelling dandelions.
Sometimes, you look at a design and you're like, I'm not really sure.
Compelling dandelions are compelling.
I mean, to think that that little smudge and that little smudge and that little smudge is going to be a flower in a second is hard to imagine, but it is. I'm going to grab my round brush. This is my number 4 round. And I'm going to make a very dark green. I'm going to take a burnt sienna and a phthalo green. And I'm going to make some very sketchy. And that is too wet on the paint is what's happening there. Kind of smearing. Let's smear that a bit because it wasn't. It's so weird how and we will be doing leaves and things, right? So there'll be like maybe a leaf arcing over this way. And if there is, I'm definitely going to want a leaf arcing over this way. And then
Right.
I'm going to arrange little tiny purple flowers in here while it's having a moment. Let's get a little of our cad yellow over to that mix. And what's fascinating is like right here, I'll get my dark green. This is going to be kind of a bit of a cone. It sort of tucks in and gets those little flowers, right?
Mm,
That's an okay line to make. Look, that's very artful, isn't it?
there.
I get a little white into it. And I know on those leaves they'll have more of a white dividing line. All right, weird bunch of sketchiness to get. But again, we're doing floral composition. We're getting ready to like explore this whole subject. And hopefully you're loving this. Maybe you came here for this dandelion and you're like, what? This is crazy. Hang in, do the steps. All you've got to do is complete. You can do better than you think. It's just about breaking these projects down. John, how you doing?
I love this.
It's gonna be John loves dandelions.
I like the dandelion.
We like the humble flowers that give so much. I mean, it gives wishes. What an amazing flower. All right, let's come back and I'll show you what the next step is. we want to think about a little more layer in our, they're pretty fun here. They're pretty vibrant, but I do want a little more in going on in my dandelion. So I'm going to come in with another layer just to make sure that I've got a bit of that color going in. I'm going to go more into my yellow.
Such a pretty yellow.
It is, cad yellow is one of those colors that it just grows on you.
It does.
And you can see that next layer really kind of pulls. Dandelions are like lots of little torn petals, right? So when you layer like this, you actually do create that sense of, you know, the little torn petals. I'm going to go back into my little center and just make sure we're there. That was a little red, but like I can come in the middle. Going a little more yellow. And then I layer in, and that creates those layers of petals.
Oh, yeah.
We have this perfect flower in our head. It's maybe tied up to a childhood memory or something very special in our lives. And it is a perfect flower, right? It doesn't look anything like an actual flower, but in our mind, I'm adding a little white to my yellow to give my dandelion some light.
This is my perfect flower.
It's John's favorite,
This
so.
is what one you're doing right now. This is it.
So we just want to add some highlights to that. A little sunlight. You know, you want to get a little sunlight into anything. Just add those highlights and it just brings it up. Just pulling it down, little streaks.
Little streaks.
And this is a messy brush, and that just lends itself to a messy little flower. And right here on the ends of these. Look at that.
Oh, yeah.
Who isn't excited about those little fellas? They're just fun. They're just fun. You know, we think of this type of thing in watercolor, we think of it in oils, but really, and pastels, but it's as fun as an acrylic. It's
Mm-hmm.
just as fun. I don't know why I don't do more of this. It's just fun. So we're going to do more of this after April, even. All right, let's give this a dry and come back and we'll add the next layer. So we're going to add a little more in our puff. I like to use my now favorite brush for dandelion puffs is the Princeton Select Brown Blender. It does clouds, it does blending, it does everything. And I really love it for this. It's one of my faves.
Mm.
So I'm going to come in and I'm going to get a little bit of white here. And I don't really want just totally white. So I'm actually going to, interestingly enough, get a little base of purple going. That's going to be the shadow of my dandelion. Isn't that interesting?
That is.
Because you really want to be able to highlight a puff and such, but you want to you want to be able to say one side has the light and one side has the shadow. The purple is like great for the shadow, and if I get it a little more blue, it's even better for the shadow. So let's say we've been kind of picking the light source coming in here. I'm just coming in and starting my little puffness, the shadow puffness. Right? A little shadow puffness going on here. Puff, 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 puff. Making little puffs. I can always get a lighter color. I'm not going yet full white. You know, I'm just got like when I come over the center of it, I don't want to erase it completely, but I do want to put some white over it.
Hmm.
Just the start of something fun there.
Floof, 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 floof.
Floof, 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 floof. Start of something fun here. Turtle power.
All right.
Sometimes when I'm working, my mind wanders. I'm just pulling back little strokes. You could use any short little brush. It's about making these short little dry brush strokes. Notice there's not a lot of water on my brush. And I'm pulling back, creating short little brush strokes. Right? When I come on the underside, I can still, have a highlight, but it's a bit and has a bit of a shadow as well. Like we do.
Yeah.
Now it's actually in flowers, it's uncommon for dandelion puffs and dandelion flowers to always be going at the same time at this level. Because just the way the flower goes to seed.
Just how it works.
You see, we got a little more darkness in there. Just
Turns to floof.
turns to flip. But it's just fun to have that. Now I'm gonna keep getting a little more white onto here. It's still in my shadow. My dandelion shadow. Sometimes I have to rinse out because the paint dries on the brush and then dry the brush out again.
Yeah.
So even this very light highlight on it is still cooled a bit.
Yeah, I can see.
Right? And the reason that that is sort of wonderful and already, these are lovely puffs, is I'm going to come over here and I'm going to grab a smidge of my yellow. I'm going to make a white with a little bit of yellow in it. And it is going to be wowzer.
Yeah.
Little short strokes. And I'm literally shading the puff. Shade the puff. So there's this way we tend to do dandelions with like little lines out and, we get very structural with them. And what's wonderful about painting flowers is that when you really embrace it, eventually what happens is you realize you're just painting form and light and color.
Mm.
I can come even in more white if I want to, and like here on the edge. Capture a little hot spot on my dandelion, as you do.
I like the highlights that are coming.
It's
Really
just,
gives it that roundy shape.
yeah, it's just some of my favorite. It just, man, it just makes the whole thing super fun. Where I need to kind of blend in, I can. Just really painting them in. All right, let's look at them from overhead. Oh my gosh.
Super nice, huh?
They're just so cheerful. Don't you feel cheered in your heart?
I do.
You're just painting a fluffy ball. What a nice thing to do. Dandelion. Gorgeous subject matter, in my opinion. Always fantastic. Always fun. All right, when we come back, I'll show you the next step. So the other thing that's really delightful and delicious about dandelions is that they have these leaves that are like attack leaves. They're
Defensive.
very dangerous little leaves. I'm going to start with my round brush. I may switch to my filbert, but I'm going to start with the number 4 round. And I'm going to get a little of my brown, phthalo green, and yellow. Kind of heavier on the brown at first. And I'm going to come to the top here. And I'm going to just begin to think about that first little spike. A little one coming off here, and a little one coming off there. See how we're doing?
The spiky leaves.
That comes in, and then it kind of makes a little green there. We'll be being painterly with these, but it's just nice to start them a little bit in this way. So let's maybe this one comes up. Crazy little leaves, aren't they?
They are.
That's why we study this stuff. And I'm going to come back with several values of other colors, but really seriously, it's super important to
Get your base green.
get your base green on here. And the other thing is that when you're studying flowers, right, and you're trying to make them look like a flower, even if we were painting this very, very loosely, and we're pretty much gonna, it's still understanding that the leaves do this is what is in your mind, believe it or not, you have saved that information about dandelions. You know this about their leaves.
It's stored in memory.
It is super stored in memory. I feel like it's like a captain's hat or a mustache. Just kind of paint down. And, you know, they do get a little kind of messier as they come down and then eventually kind of come into that.
I like those leaves.
We're going to do the same thing over here. All the little captain's hats all the way down.
Oh, yeah.
And it's just that basic laying in right now.
The little pattern of leaf.
And that's all you can do at this stage. You're building it in. You don't have this. The other leaves that you put in to fill in the arrangement or anything else you do won't feel really that authentic. Painting negatively around that. In other words, carefully around the little flower there. So at the bottom, it's kind of just like torn up little jags. So this formation is something that happens as it grows up.
It makes it a little spiky, I think, for
Right.
things to
So
eat.
those are our spikities. We've got some spikities. And I feel like now I'm looking in here, we could put in a closed bud as well.
Oh, yeah. That's nice.
A little bit of closed buds as well, because we're looking for the balance. That could be happening in those spaces. Now I'm going to get a lot more green over into this mix. Still into the brown, and let's bring some yellow over there. That's pretty bright. Even though we've, toned it with the burnt sienna, it's still a very bright kind of little green. And then if I get some white into it, and come up the center of these little leaves.
Oh, yeah.
Because their little centers are generally, their inner vein is kind of a light color. So you don't want to miss that.
No. Looks really cool.
And just put a little bit of highlight over there because we know where our light source is, don't we?
And you can tell by the highlights you put in.
You can tell by the highlights you put in. I'm just getting the brighter greens. Kind of just temporarily. And a little bit of little wiggly lines. Don't underestimate the wiggly lines. Now, our leaves here are an opportunity for quite a lot of color and development. I'm going to mist my palette so that the paint flows off and put a little more white out. So I have a little up and down lightning besides my yellow.
All right.
My yellow is good lightning, but I need other lightning. Where did my other white go? I'm looking, and there it is. And I'm seeing. All right, so squeeze that a little bit out. Oh, this is really cute. I'm really glad this is happening. Okay, so we've got our yellow. And let's come and, maybe get some highlights going on. Some little outer leaves here.
Oh, yeah.
Come down on a little edge. And keep playing with these little buds here. I can even play with this one here. Some darker green. I'm going to go up and down in greens, right?
Mm-hmm.
See how those become compositionally more interesting when you add the different values. A little brown there. Adding some just color. So little highlights where the light might be capturing it, and little shadows where I think there might be little shadows.
Yeah.
Lighten up here, adding more yellow into it so it really pops. Over here and add some. I'm just dancing around, just going, oh, you're pretty, you're pretty, you're pretty.
Adding it here and there.
Just adding something here and there. Dark green in here. And a little bit of dark. See, we're playful on the leaves. We actually put quite a lot of thought into those leaves, didn't we?
Yeah. You all the little placement of the highlights really just, bring it to life.
Bring it to life.
They're happy floofs.
Happy little poops. And I can bring some little textures in different greens. Okay, that kind of imply maybe something in the garden. See, even that creates a little bit of compositional interest, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Very light green. Just here and there. A little bit of highlights there where the sunlight would catch it.
Yeah.
That's all we're doing. Where the sunlight might catch it.
I like all the highlights.
All right, I think we got it, guys. We did a study of dandelions.
Wow.
And a composition that has a modern feel. So, we're having fun, we're making flowers, we're learning, but we're making beautiful stuff that we like. I think it's signature time. Signature time, signature time. They get like kind of a bright green, I think. Now, I know that sometimes things that appear simple can feel complex as you're learning and developing your skills. So we finished.
We did?
We did it. We painted dandelions, and you know a lot more about what makes a dandelion look like a dandelion. Floral compositions are fun. It's a great way for beginners to learn original design, balance, all of those things. If you're trying to figure out how do I get to my own original paintings, taking floral references and then composing them together in arrangements is a great way to bridge that. Definitely take advantage of the dandelions on the Art Sherpa website. We've got the mini book, we've got the traceable, we've got all the materials, we've got all those references and resources for beginners. So take advantage of it. They're free. Right, John?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's free.
And linked right in the description below.
In the description below. If you didn't know, this is part of a 30-day art challenge called Acrylic April, but you can just do the dandelion if you just want to do the dandelion. But you should subscribe because I have hundreds and hundreds and actually over 1,000 free art lessons
Mm-hmm.
in acrylic just for you. So you might want to have more of that. And we do new ones all the time, not just 30 days in a row. Be good to yourselves, be good to each other. And I want to see you at an easel really soon. Bye-bye.